Last time on the A-List, we welcomed country music superstar Naomi Judd to Studio 45. In part one, we heard all about Naomi's humble roots growing up in Kentucky, how she struggled to keep food on the table for her two daughters, and the beginnings of the country music sensation, the Judds.
Something happened. We were just transfixed. All of a sudden, we were on the porch at Chanticleer, and we just kind of locked eyes and started singing together, and they gave us a contract.
And what'd you do next? Could you even believe it?
We opened for 8,000 people. There was a hit group called the Statler Brothers, and they remember the Statler Brothers? Wallflowers. What was that? Thank you. Da 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 da. They asked us to be their opening act, and we were out in Nebraska, and I remember, we still never had a band. Brent, our producer, put together what's called the emergency band. He just, he had all the live players, the studio players that are on all the records. So he put together the best bass player, the best guitar player, which is Don Potter, who became our spiritual mentor and our band leader. But he put together the emergency band. We had a couple of rehearsals, and Winona and I are standing behind this curtain at Exarban, which is Nebraska spelled backwards. And that's the big, it is. It's Nebraska. Work on it. Think about it. And we're standing behind this curtain, and then all of a sudden, the curtain starts to go up a little bit, and Winona looks at me, and then she looks over to the exit, stage left, and I thought, here she goes. And I just kind of grabbed her hand, and I said, it's okay. And I just did that thing, where we kind of lock eyes, and we're on the front porch at Chanticleer again. And I said, this is your destiny. This is what you do. And at that point, I wasn't sure if I was going to stay, if we were going to be a duo. I still was thinking, maybe I still need to be a doctor and work with my people. But I think something happened that week. We were there all week. I think something settled in me that week, and I knew that I was not going to leave her. I couldn't abide the idea of her being out in show business.
When did it hit you that you were an official duet, though? That this was going to be a successful career for you?
Oh, I never knew it was going to be successful. I was just trying to keep her out of juvie for a long time. I don't know.
I mean, was there any point where you looked at her and you said, we've made it? We haven't gotten as far as we can go, but we've made it.
Oh, I remember when that happened. We were at a truck stop in Rooster Poot, Texas. I don't know where we were. We were in Texas, okay? It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. We had a bus called the Dream Chaser, and Winona and I were on the bus with 8 guys. There were a lot of smelly sneakers when I waked up in the morning. But yeah, we were all on this bus with these 8 guys, and we were at a truck stop. And they played Mama He's Crazy on the jukebox. And it kind of hit me, maybe I've done something right. Maybe after being the town scandal in Ashland, Kentucky in 1963, maybe I never felt my mom loved me. I just remember it was kind of like I got a sense, wow, maybe things are going to be okay.
They were better than okay.
Yeah, but if anybody ever tells you in show business that they knew, nah, they're either or something. It's show business. You never know. You never take it for granted.
So, 20 top 10 hits. 15 of those hit number one. 60 awards or more. You guys are hosting the Grammys, you're winning the awards. Everything is going awesome. Until.
Oh, yep, 1990. Yeah. There's commercials on TV right now about hepatitis C, and I feel so validated that finally the word's getting out. But hepatitis C will kill 4 times more Americans in the next decade than AIDS will. Hepatitis C is a killer, and evidently back when I worked in ICU at the hospital in Franklin, Tennessee, back when I worked in ICU, I'd gotten a needle stick, and because hepatitis C is just blood. You can't get it by kissing or sex or anything else. It's blood-borne. And evidently I got a needle stick when I worked in ICU, and then I get into the singing career, and we had been in the singing career 8 years, and all of a sudden I became symptomatic because it's a retrograde virus. It took all that time for it to catch up with me. But I was very, very sick. I mean, like in a fetal position in a dark room sick. And I had to leave the duo.
How hard was that?
Well, actually, it was harder. I mean, they told me I had 3 years to live. 3 stinking years to live. And then I was going to take a 6-foot dirt nap. And I remember telling the doctor when he told me that, because remember, I'm a nurse, so I kind of know that your belief becomes your biology. What you believe, your body manifests. And because I was an RN and I knew about medicine, when that doctor told me that, I was so upset. And I thought, you've just put a medical hex on me. You've put a curse on me, because if I didn't know what I know about medicine, I would probably just live 3 years. And I remember what I said to him, you need to retire today and become a lighthouse keeper on a remote coast in Maine. But it was almost as hard, as sick as I was, and my husband Larry's sitting there and he remembers. It was, I was critical. It was really, 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 really bad. But it was almost as hard on me telling Winona that I had to leave the career. Ashley was oblivious. I didn't let Ashley know.
How sick you were?
No. In fact, Larry remembers very well that we'd never been to therapy. Of course now, you've seen Oprah, you know. You said in the dressing room that we've been on Oprah more times than anybody. We have. She told me that one time. But anyway.
I thought it just felt like it. I'm glad it's true.
No, she told me we have been on there more times than anybody. But I had never been to a therapist, and I hired a therapist back home in Franklin, Tennessee. And I took Larry and Winona and Ashley, and I had to tell them in front of a therapist that I'd been given only 3 years to live, because they thought I was Superwoman. I seemed to have the answers, and you know, I couldn't tell them by myself. But anyway, with Ashley, I really downplayed it, because she had just graduated the University of Kentucky back home, and she was going to go to Hollywood and become an actress. And I didn't want to have anything to do with stopping or getting in her way. So I really downplayed it to Ashley. And we packed up the car, and we put a sign on the back of the car that said Hollywood or bust, and away she went. And for the next year and a half, I hid it from her.
How hard was it to tell Winona, not that you were this sick, but that you would no longer be a duet?
It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, because it had never occurred to her to be solo. Never dawned on her that she was the voice, you know. And when I told her, she went into a clinical depression. It was really hard, and she was going to quit and all that. And I just said, don't you dare. Don't you know how hard we've worked? And I said, you have to go on. It's your destiny. You've got your destiny stamped on your forehead now.
So in the last 2 decades, Clearly, you've shown that doctor he didn't know what he was talking about.
Yep. Radiantly healthy and goofy as ever.
What was your secret?
I knew on some sort of intuitive level, some sort of primal level at my core, that I was going to make it, but I didn't know the science behind it. I've been studying neuroscience for the last 20 years, and now I can completely explain it, but your belief does become your biology. Whatever you think about, you manifest. And 85% of all illnesses are stress-related. So I began what I call my voyage of self-discovery, and I started hanging out with brilliant experts in the field of psychoneuroimmunology, which means spirit, mind, body work. And I, first of all, said, nope, I'm going to live long enough to see the day that Winona and Ashley Judd don't blame me for all their problems. You have to have goals, right?
Now, it's not enough that you had to figure out a way to survive Hep C, but in the midst of all this and even before, I know you suffered from panic attacks.
Yes, yes. Thank you for bringing that up, because I want to talk about that, because it's so sad that there are people out there right now that are watching this that maybe are understanding for the first time that they're not going crazy, that they're not going to die, these folks that are having panic disorder, that don't realize that. The panic attacks, there's 2.4 million people that we know of right now that have panic disorder. And a panic attack it's really hard to describe, because you're short of breath, your heart is pounding, you think you're going crazy, you think you're going to die, but it's actually a panic attack. And it may last anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour. And I say it's like being in a snake pit full of venomous snakes, poisonous snakes. It is that scary and that real. And I started having panic attacks because you got a doctor telling you you just got a couple of years to live, and it's going to be a hideous death at that. You'll have a panic attack. But it was my sister-in-law, Mitty Judd. My brother's a pastor back home in Kentucky, and his wife is a nurse, Mitty Judd. And she told me what was going on with me, and I remember going, shoo, because I don't care what you have. It's almost like once you know what it is, then you can start to work on it. But having said that, I had severe panic attacks, and they abated, and I was able to get over them. And then this past year, what is that, 1990 to 2014, a little. Okay, 24 years later, I'm having them again because of a series of personal crises and tragedies. But what I do to, and when I say personal tragedies or crises, for instance, one of them that I can talk about is my mom. You know, I love my mom and very concerned about her. And she knows that she's now in this assisted living facility, and we had to sell the family home after 64 years. So she knows she's not going to go home, and it just breaks my heart. But when you're as self-actualized and been on your own as long as I have been, and there's something that you can't fix that you want to so desperately, I've started having panic attacks again. And once you have a series of them, and they don't abate, they don't stop, then you get panic disorder. So right now I'm struggling with panic disorder. But I know I'll get over them.
Well, but it sounds like you're a take charge person. I mean, you're not going to let somebody tell you what the diagnosis is. It took me a while, but yes. I'm quick like that. One of my favorite quotes, I used it on our 13-year-old last night when we were trying to explain to him how things like making breakfast or making his bed, simple things are important. I said, do you know what Naomi Judd says? He says, I don't even know Naomi Judd. I said, okay. Well, Naomi Judd says if you're looking for a helping hand, then look at the end of your arm. It's a
Best place to find a helping
saying.
hand.
And that's what you've done.
Well, I think we all have to do that. I think we all have to do that.
But you're so scrappy. I love this story. Did you really become a professional game show contestant when you were trying to make money in Hollywood?
I was working 2 jobs, 2 minimum wage jobs at the same time. I worked at a health food store called the Golden Carrot, and then I didn't have a car, so I could only work places that I could walk to. The Golden Carrot was on the corner of Larrabee and Sunset. And then, remember the Fifth Dimension? Mm-hmm. Up, up, and away. Their office was 2 blocks away, so I was their receptionist. So I was working these 2 jobs, and I could barely pay the rent. So I was a contestant on, go ahead and laugh, it paid. I was a contestant on Password out in Ludden. I was a game show contestant on Hollywood Squares.
Do you think you're the only person to ever be a contestant and in the square?
Oh.
That's a pretty good stat.
Do you remember Paul Lynde?
Paul Lynde, yes.
Was it Lynde? It was Paul Lynde and Rosemarie and Charlie Weaver. Yeah. I remember now. I got a vacuum cleaner and 12 pair of really ugly shoes. But it was in the hometown newspaper. Remember, there's a big write-up. Mom sent it to me.
Your TV debut, right?
That was me.
So there's an old joke that says, if you play a country song backward, it has a happy ending. You get your truck back, you get your wife back, you get your house back.
The dog lives, yeah.
So I'm curious, what's your happy ending? As they say, or as you sang in Dream Chaser, when do you find your rainbow's end?
Oh, what a great question. Well, he's sitting right there.
Been together 35 years. I'll do a little comic relief. I guess when he walked in, you said that's a double order of trouble, right?
Yeah. The trouble with trouble is it starts out as fun. We've been together 35 years. And Winona lives over the hill behind us. We live in a valley. It's called Peaceful Valley. Come to our house at supper for one night, you'll see. With Ashley being such a liberal, we have to keep it at news, weather, and sports. Our dinner table conversations. But Winona lives over the hill behind us, and Ashley lives up the hill to our right. So, yeah, we call it Peaceful Valley, but...
And of course, I have to ask the question that's on everybody's mind, which is, of all the Judds songs, which is your favorite?
Oh. It kind of depends on the mood and what the circumstances are, but when I wrote Love Can Build a Bridge, I wrote it in Medford, Oregon, and every afternoon I would go out, whatever city we were in, because I love America so much and all these diverse cultures, subcultures and all. I mean, one morning I'd wake up on our bus, pull open my little curtains in the back of the bus where my room was. I called it my womb. And I would see, God, we're in Midtown Manhattan, with the hustle and bustle and the guys with their briefcases. And or then we'd be in Fargo, North Dakota, or we'd be in Sacramento, California, wherever. And I just loved that. I just thrived on it. We were in Medford, Oregon, and I would go out every afternoon and sort of to get the zeitgeist, the feel of the place where we were, the guys mowing the grass or the kid on the bicycle, and just, invite me in. I want to come to supper at your house and have a tuna casserole. I just would soak up that atmosphere because I'm such a people lover. And in Medford, there was I had my little dog Banjo, taking our walk, and there was a homeless guy on a park bench. And it just absolutely tore me apart to think that he had no place to go. The weather was getting cold. So that night, as soon as the concert was over with, I got back in my womb and wrote "The Words to Love Can Build a Bridge." And I remember when I won a Grammy for Songwriter of the Year for it, I said, I don't really deserve this. But then again, I have hepatitis C and I don't deserve that either. But when you see a turtle up on a fence post, you know it had some help getting up there. And all the songs that I ever wrote, I can't take credit for. Because it was somebody that inspired me. And I also believe that God gives us unusual gifts. But what each of us really needs, I said, I was trying to condense the fact that we all need certain things to survive. It says, I'd gladly walk across the desert with no shoes upon my feet to share with you the last bite of bread I have to eat. I'd even swim out to save you in your sea of broken dreams. When all your hopes are sinking, let me show you what love means. Love can build a bridge. And then it said, oh, thank you. It says, I would whisper love so loudly every heart could understand that love and only love can join the tribes of man. And that's where we're at today. The world is so disenfranchised. People are so cruel. I can't tolerate it. I've never touched a computer in my life. Won't do it. I won't talk on the phone, just one-on-one. I'm so upset with what's going on with this world today. The cruelty, the poverty, the racism, the whole thing. I guess I'm too gentle a spirit for all of it. I just can't. I don't fit.
Well, I want to read one more thing. I don't normally read, but when I was reading your book, which I did, cover to cover, and I know more about that white-haired devil over there than I care to. So I had a part that I highlighted, and I ended up just making a photocopy because I loved it so much, and I made it my bookmark.
Oh.
And I kind of need reading glasses sometimes, so I made it bigger. But I don't know if you remember this. This is when you were working in Hollywood for the Adams and a very wealthy family.
Oh, yeah.
And this is, by all means, I think this is the best I quit letter I have ever read in my life. And I really feel like this sums you up in such a way, and especially seeing you and meeting you, I think it's true. But if you can read it, I think in your words would be better. Do you mind? Do you remember?
I haven't thought of them in 40 years.
That part.
Uh-oh.
Money? Okay.
Oh, gosh.
It is. If I ever quit a job, I'm just using that and I'm putting my name on it.
Well, they were a very wealthy family, and I was sort of working as a personal assistant to them because I'd walk the kids to school, and then, remember, I didn't have a car. I'd walk them to school, and then I needed to be home by 3:30 so I could meet them out front of the school and walk them home. So that's the only reason I worked for these people. They were not very nice people. Money will buy a bed, but not sleep. I'm not sure I wrote this. Did I write this?
You wrote that.
Money, it's pretty good. Money will buy a bed, but not sleep. Books, but not brains. Food, but not an appetite. Finery, but not beauty. A house, but not a home. Medicine, but not health. Luxuries, but not culture. Amusement, but not happiness. Religion, but not salvation. A passport to everywhere but heaven.
Amen. Thank you for being with us today.
I love PBS.